Dillon Gabriel has been hit more times than anyone cares to count, and it's showing. Under constant pressure, his rhythm has disappeared and the Browns' offense has stalled. But in Cleveland, sympathy doesn't equal security. With each failed drive, the whispers grow louder. It's time for Shedeur Sanders. What started as chatter has now escalated into a full-blown quarterback controversy, fueled by mounting losses and media figures like Tony Grossi flipping the script. If Gabriel gets one more shot, it could be his last. If Sanders steps in, it might be the moment Cleveland's season finds direction or implodes. The case for Sanders isn't just hype. His reputation for staying calm in chaos and performing when it counts has turned heads across the league. Add in his football IQ and brand appeal, and he's become a uniquely valuable asset in a league that values both production and presence. The Dolphins may not be the easiest matchup, but the stakes have never been higher. Waiting is no longer an option. The Browns need clarity, and Sanders offers it, even if that clarity comes with risk. Tony Grossi didn't just offer a hot take. He detonated a grenade right in the middle of the Browns' quarterback conversation, and the shockwave is still being felt across Cleveland. Grossi, long known for his sharp, no-nonsense critiques of Browns football, stunned everyone when he went on record demanding that Shedeur Sanders start next week against the Miami Dolphins. Not get reps, not prepare for the future. He said start him now. And when Tony Grossi says that, things in Cleveland are worse than they've looked on paper. This isn't just media drama, it's a breaking point. The team is crumbling offensively. Kevin Stefanski is under a microscope, and Dillon Gabriel is barely staying upright behind a battered line. Every week it becomes more obvious that something has to give. And if you followed the Browns for more than 5 minutes, they have a long history of waiting too long to make the move everyone sees coming. But this time, there's no time left. Grossi's unexpected endorsement of Shedeur Sanders wasn't a spur-of-the-moment rant. It was a reflection of where this team stands. The Browns are in a freefall. The offense has stalled out. The quarterback situation is unwatchable. And the pressure on Stefanski is reaching a point where one more loss could mean the end of the road. Let's talk about what Grossi's demand really means. This is a guy who's been skeptical of Sanders, a traditionalist, a stickler for fundamentals and performance over flash. For him to do a complete 180 and call for Shedeur to start means two things are true. 1. Gabriel is not the answer. And 2. Shedeur might be the only viable spark left. This isn't about coddling a rookie. This isn't about waiting for the right moment. The Browns don't have the luxury of timing. They've run out of road. Grossi knows it. The fans know it. And now even the coaching staff knows it, whether they'll admit it publicly or not. The offensive line is in shambles. Gabriel is under siege every single snap. The team can't sustain drives, can't protect the ball, and certainly can't inspire confidence. Week after week, it's the same story. Low energy, poor execution, no rhythm. And with every failed third down, every wasted red zone possession, the frustration grows louder. That's why Shedeur Sanders isn't just a quarterback name floating around. He's become the conversation. His college resume speaks for itself. Strong football IQ, proven leadership, poise under pressure. He's been groomed for this since day one, mentally, physically, and professionally. This is someone who's handled expectations, navigated high-stakes games, and never shied away from the spotlight. And most importantly, he's ready to lead. Whether it was Jackson State or Colorado, Shedeur played under pressure, in front of national audiences, and against tough competition. He didn't just survive, he performed. His stats, decision-making, and leadership were all elite for a college quarterback. And when you combine that with his mental toughness and maturity, you get a player who doesn't need to be stashed on the bench just in case. He's built to compete now. Grossi sees that, and so do the fans. And let's not ignore the elephant in the room.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Marketability. In today's NFL, star power isn't just about stats. It's about identity, about charisma, about relevance. Shedeur brings all of that in spades. a major social media presence, endorsements, a recognizable name, and most importantly, a narrative. The Browns have been missing a quarterback with both talent and presence for decades. They've cycled through game managers, projects, and temporary fixes. None of them moved the needle. None of them had the upside or visibility that Sanders offers. And in 2025, that matters more than ever. Because teams aren't just selling football, they're selling belief. And right now, Shedeur is the only player on that depth chart that gives Cleveland fans a reason to believe. He's got the confidence. He's got the leadership. And he has that unteachable quality that makes teammates listen when he speaks. The locker room needs a jolt. The fan base needs something to rally around. And the front office needs a move that says, we're not giving up on this season. Starting Shedeur doesn't just change the offense, it changes the mood. And the timing couldn't be better. The Dolphins are up next. Their defense? Beatable. It's not the Iron Curtain. It's not an impossible assignment. In fact, it's one of the better opportunities the Browns will have all season to test something new without feeding a rookie to a top-tier defense. If there was ever a moment to make this move, it's this game. But if Stefanski keeps Gabriel out there, despite the O-line disintegrating, despite the lack of results, despite mounting media pressure, he's not just risking another loss. He's risking his job. Because at this point, every week that Shedeur stays on the bench becomes an indictment. Not of Sanders, but of the staff. The narrative has already shifted. Fans aren't asking if Shedeur should play. They're asking why it hasn't happened already. And that's a dangerous place for a head coach to be in. Once you lose the fans, and then the media, and then the locker room, there's nothing left. Grossi's rant wasn't the beginning. It was the climax. The final warning shot. Start Sanders or prepare for the fallout. And look, no one's pretending Sanders is going to walk in and solve everything. The offensive line is still a mess. The play calling is still suspect. There are deeper systemic issues with this team. But you don't need Shedeur to fix everything. You just need him to shift the momentum. He doesn't have to throw for 350 yards. He just has to move the ball, keep drives alive, and give his team a reason to stop looking at the floor. Because that's where they are now, flatlined. And if you don't believe in momentum, just look at the media narrative. It's moved faster than the Browns' offense all year. Once Grossi made his comments, the floodgates opened. Former players, analysts, beat writers, they all started echoing the same sentiment. The Browns need to start Shedeur. Now, every day he stays benched, it gets louder. Every sack Gabriel takes, every stalled drive, every missed throw, it all circles back to one thing. Why isn't Shedeur playing? The Browns are on the verge of letting this season completely unravel. The only move left that has a chance of stopping the slide is starting Sanders. The longer they wait, the harder it becomes to justify. And frankly, the less anyone cares to listen. Start him. Not next month. Not after the bye. Next week. Against the Dolphins. Because if they don't, this team won't just lose another game. They'll lose the locker room, the fans, the media, and maybe even the one quarterback who might have actually changed the trajectory of the franchise. What do you think? Should the Browns make the move now, or is this just more media pressure with no payoff? Let us know in the comments. Hit like if you're tired of watching this offense stall out every week. And subscribe for more breakdowns as the Browns inch toward one of the most pivotal decisions of their season. The pressure's real. The clock is ticking. And if Shedeur Sanders doesn't start next week, we might be watching the end of this era in real time. Let's be honest. If Shedeur Sanders doesn't start next week, it's not just a football decision anymore. It becomes a statement. A statement that the Browns are more afraid of being wrong than they are interested in being bold. That they're more concerned about optics, narratives, and job security than about actually trying to win football games. And after everything this fan base has endured, that's not just disappointing, it's insulting. The Browns have been here before. The wait and see era. The let's give it one more week era. The we believe in the guy we have era. You know how those end? 5-12, again. With a new OC. Again. With fans booing at home games before halftime. Again. The only difference this time is that there's a viable answer already in the building. And he's not just waiting in the wings. He's sitting there ready, marketable, composed, and more prepared than most of the quarterbacks who've come through Cleveland in the past 20 years. Let's stop pretending like Shedeur Sanders is some unknown quantity. He's been a nationally watched quarterback for 2 years. He's played under the lights. He's been chased by top-tier defenses. He's had to read complex coverages in high-tempo games. He's been coached to handle NFL pressure since high school. This isn't some raw, wide-eyed kid who lucked into the spotlight. He's built for it. And the Browns desperately need someone who's built for it. The pressure in that locker room is mounting. And don't let the bland quotes from Stefanski or the diplomatic interviews with players fool you. Guys are frustrated. When you have talented receivers barely getting the ball, when you have drives that last 45 seconds, and when you've been outscored in 5 straight second halves, morale doesn't just dip, it nosedives. Shedeur isn't just about upside. He's about control, poise, leadership, qualities this offense hasn't had since. Well, since who exactly? He doesn't panic under pressure. He doesn't force throws. He doesn't need to scramble just to survive. What he does need is a coaching staff willing to take a leap of faith, even if that faith is long overdue. Because here's what's not working. Another week of Gabriel ducking pressure, overthrowing slants, and checking down on 3rd and 8 while fans slowly file out in the third quarter. The offensive line is a liability no matter who's behind it. So why not put in the quarterback who can actually stay composed when things break down? And look, no one's blaming Gabriel entirely. He's a young quarterback thrown into a thankless situation. He's taking hits that no quarterback should be asked to absorb week after week. But it's clear he's not the long-term answer. And continuing to run him out there, knowing what's coming, feels less like strategy and more like stalling. That's what Tony Grossi was really calling out. Not just the bad quarterback play, but the unwillingness to do something about it. This isn't a team that needs development right now. It needs life, a spark, something that jolts everyone from the players to the press box, out of the slow-motion doom spiral this season has become. And Shedeur is the only player who brings that with him. There's a reason media outlets that used to be skeptical are now calling for him to start. This isn't about hype anymore. It's about logic. It's about urgency. It's about admitting the old approach isn't working and finally trying something, anything, new. And it's not like this would be some massive gamble. Sanders isn't an unknown. He's not a raw prospect that needs to sit for a year. This is someone with high-level experience, a strong resume, and more poise than most quarterbacks with twice his experience. You think the locker room doesn't see that? You think those wide receivers aren't watching practice and wondering what might happen if Shedeur got real game reps? Because they are. And if Stefanski doesn't make the move soon, he risks losing more than just games. He risks losing a room. The moment players feel like the best guy isn't starting, or worse, that the staff is ignoring what's obvious, it's over. The buy-in disappears. The belief goes with it. And once that's gone, you can forget about salvaging the season. This is what makes Grossi's comments so important. He's not just stirring the pot. He's echoing what players can't say publicly. That this team has a chance to shake things up now, and it would be a colossal mistake to let that chance pass them by. Because this isn't just about Shedeur. It's about direction. About proving that the Browns are capable of adjusting when things go wrong. That they don't just ride a sinking ship into the harbor while repeating, "We're sticking to the process." The process is broken. The proof is on the field. It's time to change course. And what better opponent than the Dolphins? A good but beatable team. A vulnerable defense. A national audience paying attention. This could be the moment, a fresh start, a clean slate, and a chance to see what Sanders can really do when it counts. Worst case? He looks like a rookie. And guess what? So does Gabriel. Best case? You found your guy. Not just for the rest of the season, but for the future. And for a franchise that has burned through more quarterbacks than any team in the modern era, that's worth taking seriously. Because the Browns can't afford to keep waiting. Every week they keep Sanders on the bench. The scrutiny will only grow louder. The fan base will only get more agitated. And the media will keep asking the question no one in Berea seems ready to answer. What are you afraid of? Shedeur has the tools, the confidence, the command, and more importantly, he has the opportunity. All that's missing is the chance. And if Stefanski doesn't give it to him now, he might not get the chance to make that decision again. And if you're still clinging to the idea that it's too early for Shedeur Sanders, that maybe the moment's too big or the system too complex, let's stop right there. Because what moment isn't too big in Cleveland right now? This team is in full-blown panic mode. The season's sliding off the rails. The quarterback play is crumbling. The locker room? Tense. The coach? One bad week away from becoming a headline himself. There's no such thing as a calm, low-stakes moment in Cleveland football, not this year, and definitely not with the Dolphins looming. So let's stop pretending that the risk is starting Shedeur. The real risk is what happens if they don't. The Browns can't go into another game with Dillon Gabriel behind center, praying the offensive line finally holds up, hoping he somehow avoids pressure long enough to find rhythm. That fantasy has expired. It's over. Gabriel is taking hits like clockwork, not progressing, and showing no sign of elevating the offense in any meaningful way. The fact that he's even still starting is proof that the Browns are operating from a place of fear, not strategy. Tony Grossi didn't just go off for the sake of stirring the pot. He's been watching this team disintegrate for weeks. He's seen the same patterns over and over: bad offensive rhythm, failed quarterback development, total avoidance of the obvious fix. And that's why his call for Shedeur Sanders to start carries weight. Because Grossi isn't a fanboy. He's not someone easily swayed by narrative or marketing. If he's saying it's time, it's because the situation has gone beyond repair. And let's go back to the facts. The offensive line is falling apart. That's not going to change this week. And that's exactly why Shedeur might be the better option. You need a quarterback who can stay composed under duress, process quickly, protect the football, and avoid panic. Sanders has done that repeatedly in college. He's taken hits, worked behind shaky lines, and still found ways to make plays. You know what Gabriel has shown? That he can't handle it. It's not personal, it's just the truth. Every game he starts pushes the Browns further into irrelevance. Every possession feels like a coin flip. Will it be a sack, a scramble, or a wasted throw? There's no momentum, no belief, no identity. And this is the part where Shedeur becomes more than just a quarterback option. He becomes a franchise test, a barometer for whether the Browns are finally willing to do something bold, something uncomfortable, something that might actually change the direction of this season. Because if they're not, if they're just going to coast through another forgettable campaign with a QB they know won't be here long term, then what's the point? Sanders has leadership. He has command. He's been in the spotlight longer than most NFL players. And no, he's not a finished product. But neither is the rest of this roster. You don't need perfect. You need a pulse. And Shedeur gives you that. It's not just the fans who feel it. The mood inside the building is shifting. The media has already flipped. What started as a fringe narrative is now mainstream. From talk radio to national coverage, the question isn't should Shedeur start, it's why hasn't he already? That shift in perception matters. Because the Browns don't operate in a vacuum. They can try to stay tight-lipped and pretend there's no QB controversy brewing. But the pressure is already here. And it's only going to grow louder with every pass Gabriel sails, every red zone stall-out, every third and long dump-off. You want to protect Shedeur? Protect him from what? This offense isn't protecting anyone right now. The only thing they're shielding him from is the chance to actually lead. And yes, the Dolphins aren't some cupcake opponent, but their defense has been beatable. Their coverage isn't airtight. Their pass rush is decent, not elite. If there's ever a game to roll the dice, this is it. Wait any longer and you risk throwing Shedeur into a worse situation. More pressure, more urgency, and less time to find rhythm. This is the moment. This game is the line in the sand. And Stefanski knows it. The front office knows it. They may not say it, but they're watching the same film, hearing the same media pressure, feeling the same disconnect that fans are shouting about. If they wait again, it's not because they're making a football decision. It's because they're playing politics. And that's a brutal reality. When fear of backlash or disruption gets in the way of the one decision that could bring hope back into the building, that's not just caution, that's cowardice. And no team in the NFL has time for cowardice when the season's on the brink. The Browns need someone who wants the moment, who walks into chaos and says, "Give me the ball anyway." That's Shedeur. He's not afraid of expectations. He's not afraid of mistakes. He's grown up under pressure that would crush most rookies, and he still shows up every time with composure and confidence. This isn't just about talent. It's about mentality. And that's why it's time. Because Shedeur Sanders has the one thing the Browns have lacked for years: presence. A quarterback who doesn't just react, but leads. Who doesn't just survive, but believes. And if they won't give him that chance now, they're not just delaying the inevitable. They're denying this team its best shot at salvaging what's left of the year. And maybe, just maybe, building something real. So what's it going to be? Another week of waiting? Another week of field goals, sacks, and wasted snaps? Or is this the week the Browns finally stop being passive and do something? Grossi's said his piece. The fans have made it loud. The players are feeling it. Now it's on the coaching staff to either pull the trigger or own the consequences. Start Shedeur Sanders. Start him next week. Start him while you still can. And if you agree, drop your thoughts in the comments. Let us know where you stand. Are you ready to see the Browns take a risk that actually has a chance to work? Or are you still holding out hope that this system will somehow correct itself? Like the video if you're done with the waiting game. Share it if you know the future's already on the bench. Subscribe if you're sticking around for whatever chaos comes next. Because whether they start Shedeur or not, the fallout is coming.